It's been a long time, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And tonight we're darkly dreaming Dexter as we discuss the new blood of the Dexter reboot. That's right, it's time for the Dexter New Blood Recap podcast. Dragon, I literally came up with that intro off the top of my head. I just knew that I wanted to do the whole, it's been a long time, but, all right. So, folks, welcome. I honestly am not sure how much traction this one's going to get, but we have been following Dexter New Blood basically since it was announced, Dragon, and, especially since Clancy Brown was brought on board as the main villain. I think you and I have very much kind of, like through movie memoirs and the news section, we pretty much talked about it quite a few times. We've kind of tracked the development of this thing. So with that in mind, Dragon, let's go through really quick, say our histories with the show, and then what we think of the first episode of New Blood, which is Cold Snap. So Dragon, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, Dexter was very much like the flagship Showtime series along with Nurse Jackie. I mean, you thought Showtime was going to be one of those two series in terms of sorry? Oh, yeah, sure, and Weeds, yeah. So, as I'm saying, you have you have very few kind of flagship kind of series, and those are like some of the most high quality ones you could think of. And I think, Dexter, both of those shows, I mean, I guess I'm not familiar with Weeds, so I don't know if it fits my Nurse Jackie criteria.
I think you like Weeds.
Well, sure, Tiggy. What I'm saying is, though, does Weeds have like an anti-hero thing with it?
Yes, absolutely.
And yes. So my point is, with all three of these shows, then, there's like an anti-hero hallmark that Showtime was really kind of making their own at that time.
Weeds is like the soccer mom pot dealer. That's the whole gimmick.
Right.
Anyways.
So they had this anti-hero hallmark with these shows, and I think what Dexter did so well is it took the dark fascination that people have with serial killers. It's always like, everyone's like, oh my God, we got to watch. The culture is always preoccupied with serial killers, historically especially.
I feel like more and more these days, to almost a troubling degree.
And that's the thing. And I think when you look back on it, Dexter was kind of like a great response to that. We're okay, let's take that odd obsession and channel it into something kind of positive. Or at least, well, if we took a character who did channel that kind of that fandom into something positive. Where, okay, so we have a lead who has, we have the magnetic and kind of charming lead in Michael C. Hall, who's basically, what if Ted Bundy had a code? It's like, what if Ted Bundy had like Harry's code going for him? And I think Dexter, deep down, people want to control their demons and see bad people punished. And I think that's why Dexter was as popular as it was especially in the early seasons, those first 4 seasons, particularly. I mean, for me with Dexter, when I watched it, it was like a roller coaster with character likability. And I've used this analogy with Breaking Bad, but Dexter is where I got the analogy from, where there were seasons where there were characters I liked, and then characters I didn't like, who then I liked in other seasons, and kind of flip flop. Like at first, I wasn't crazy about LaGuerta, then I loved her, and then I didn't like her again, and like vice versa with other characters. And yeah, so Dexter was a very kind of formative. It was a formative show, I believe. Yeah, it had to have predated Breaking Bad. Of course, after season 4, things got crazy. Things got a little unpredictable in terms of, okay, well, yeah, we're kind of out of the main story track here, and we're just kind of throwing stuff at a wall. It's kind of new serial killer of the season. It's kind of what we've broken it down into. And I thought the finale was fitting, but just did not have like the drama and kind of the story competence like season 4 did, which in itself could have been somewhat of a finale. You want more of it, obviously, but it could have been. You could have been he'd kind of more of a final note than the finale did. And it's a shame that the last episode wasn't kind of super final as you kind of hoped it would be. It was like there was too many hanging chads. Like, well, I want to know where it goes from here. And it's not like leaving you wanting more; it's leaving you a little unfulfilled.
That's
kind of where I'm at on Dexter. I did love the I did love the show, though, and of course, Michael C. Hall is the reason to watch the show. And I love evolving methodologies and seeing a characters kind of in that position, and being the big procedural nut that I am. Dexter was a very kind of well-worn glove with a twist, so I did really enjoy it.
All right. And your thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, so Dexter's back and with a story to tell, which is exactly what I want. The fact that one of the big draws for me, outside of again, is the fact that hey, it's coming back, and hey, Clancy Brown is our big bad this season. Was Clyde Phillips, the original showrunner on the first 4 seasons. He's back in the saddle, and he's got opinions on how Dexter should have ended. I mean, if we'll see how it goes. I mean, Dexter's popularity, I have no idea how this is going to go, because I know it's the funniest thing, Tiki. Engaging the audience for our coverage of this show, I found out like literally no one that we know has watched Dexter.
Really?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, pretty
Honestly
much
surprising.
I mean, let me put it this way: anyone who's watched Dexter, they, for example, like only one of the people that we know has actually watched the original show, but they can't watch the new show because it's on Showtime, unfortunately.
Uh-huh.
And beyond that, it's just when it was on Netflix, which now I believe is no longer the case, especially with the new show going. I don't know.
A lot of buzz, like people are talking about it.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I know Dexter absolutely has an audience, but oddly, our guys that we kind of talk a lot of our streaming stuff with, a lot of our shows with, they either just they didn't finish it, they didn't watch it till the end, they didn't watch it till the halfway point, or they just didn't get into it at all, with very, very few exceptions, who still can't come to the party because of the way the way it premieres.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of odd, but I just I was very pleased with it. I thought we eased back into the universe very well. We didn't just underwrite like, okay, it's the last season, didn't happen. No, it happened, but we're 10 years later, and we get to re-explore things. And then Tiki's, again, put simply, it's the fact that Dexter we're not just bringing it back because, we want to see Dexter again. It's just taking us a long time to do. Like, no, we have a story to tell, and we have something to say, and we're going to do what the first 4 seasons did really well, which is the anatomy of a serial killer. We're going to get into this guy's head of a serial killer that you root for, which is such an odd combination.
Right. So, Dexter was actually, it's been quite a long time since I've been in a relationship, but it was actually a show that the last person I was in a relationship with got me into, and so it was kind of like our show. We binged it all on DVD, and like this was back in the days where we actually had to go to Target to get all the DVDs because they weren't just on Netflix. So I got through season 4. I started watching season 5. Got about halfway through it like twice and kind of just gave up from there. I have not seen the whole back half of this show. So that's kind of where I'm coming into New Blood from. Because I always pretty much just, with my Dexter experience, I was perfectly happy just imagining the last moments of season 4, the bloody bathtub, just imagining that to be the end of the show. Because I feel like that's such a perfect full circle ending to everything that leaves the door open just enough. And with that in mind, it's like with New Blood, it's like I'm sure that there are things that are being referenced that I'm not quite picking up on. Like I know that there's this big Hannah character that I know next to nothing about, and I'm sure that's going to be a blank spot for me once we get more into Harrison. But but generally speaking, I think for a show that really did have this kind of like split right down the middle, I think they are doing a great job of. It's mostly focusing on the stuff that worked from the first 4 seasons. And I feel like New Blood, at least here in the first episode, I really think it's doing a great job of kind of giving us those familiar Dexter trappings, but also in a new environment, making us wait for that, for that opening monologue. I don't want to say a fake out with the main antagonist, but I really like the way we kind of Dragon, Mr. Krabs is coming, man, and it's I love the build up to that.
Yeah, I'm just so happy. See, Clancy Brown is such an underrated talent because he's in so much. I mean, you both heard him, you've heard him all over the place, and you've seen him. He's always been like an iconic background player. Exactly, Shawshank he could rest his laurels on Shawshank. Then you have Highlander, you have all sorts of stuff that he's that he's popped up in. So people have seen, of course, even in the Marvel, both in the MCU and the Marvel Netflix stuff. He's in the Punisher. He's in Daredevil season 2. He's he's in Thor Ragnarok. He plays Surtur. So I mean, he's very much ingratiated in all the things that we love. Lex Luthor. I mean, for me, the best role he's ever played is Lex Luthor. So I mean, he's tremendous.
Well, anyways, we'll get to the Clancy Brown.
But we build him up kind of like a Kingpin, though.
Oh my God, great. We build him up so fucking, so good. Anyways, so that's where I'm at, Dragon. I'm digging the change of location. Frankly, I was a little bit exhausted by the Miami location, even 4 seasons in. I was like, all right, guys, how many times are we going to see like Dexter on the fishing boat and the, the pastel colors and, I don't know. Like, I feel like this location there's a lot more to build off of. It just feels like a lot more rich, even though it's a less populated area. I feel like the fact that it's not a big city means that literally everyone that we come in contact with is gonna be more important than usual. You know what I mean? No,
that's what's so great about it. This one already is just a great reintroduction. It takes us to the early hallmarks of Dexter. More importantly, it's so diametrically opposite from those hallmarks. And the Dexter, he's in a whole new sandbox we've never seen him in before, which just makes the story potential so much more ripe and interesting and just eager to see.
All right, so with that, do you want to just dive right into the recap? Do you have any background?
No, Tiki, I don't have any background.
Okay, just making sure you're in the background, guys. So
I would have
skipped over. Yeah. All right, so let's just dive into it. So unfortunately, Dragon, before we get to the good stuff, we're gonna have to eat our vegetables. Well, the one scene I really didn't like is a scene that was in the trailer, and I didn't like it there either. It was the pulling over scene.
Oh, so you didn't like because it was spoiled for you?
No, I just didn't like it because I just think the whole I don't know, man. I'm not thrilled with the idea of like the first time we meet Dexter's girlfriend. It's like, okay, let's fuck, to be to be perfectly blunt.
Well, look, just to talk about Angela Bishop, I like that we continue like the relationship with Dexter. Always has had a firm relationship with law enforcement in many ways, shapes, and forms.
Oh, I like that relationship. I just think that it's Dragon. I don't know. Maybe this is just the prude in me coming out. I don't need to see the characters literally having sex to get that they're in a committed relationship. And I thought it was a little bit of a writing cheat to just be like, oh boy, they're in a spicy relationship. She's pulling him over and
Tiki, you gotta remember there was sex all over Dexter though. The show. I mean, immediately you're right that we didn't introduce.
Maybe that's one of the elements of the show I didn't miss.
Well, you're not wrong. We didn't introduce Rita with a sex scene, but this is not Rita. So,
right.
So, but just to speak to Angela, though, for a moment.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, here's what I like about Bishop is that, again, it's kind of like.
I like that she's a single parent. I like that realistically she's not like attached at the hip to Dexter like Rita was. Like they both have their own lives going on and they respect that about each other.
Yes. So first off, again, the fact that every serial killer kind of has that need to get caught, which is so funny that Dexter is in a relationship, with a cop of all people.
Uh-huh.
Secondly, I like there are some Freudian parallels with this choice in partner.
Oh, there are absolutely. Oh, yeah, big time.
Okay, so a few things. Okay, so first off, Harry and Deb, obviously the closest relationships that he's had, and also very much, again, hence the relationship with law enforcement, being drawn to, to kind of law and order to kind of placate his worst impulses, and also he's got a type, the single mother, much like Rita, and also Freudian thing, his own mother who was murdered.
And she looks an awful lot like Deb too. I'm just gonna say
that's what I'm saying. Is a little bit. I'm not saying you're not wrong at all about that. That's exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. With again, there's a bit of Harry's.
Like I am sure the casting, that must have come into play at least a little bit. The fact that she looks so much like Jennifer Carpenter.
And that's the thing, though, is the fact that Dexter has a type, and again, in the back of his head, obviously, that they played with it. I don't think you saw this. I don't know how seeded it was in the first 4 seasons. They actually talked about that in the later seasons of Dexter. Deb had feelings for him.
Yeah.
So I want to backpedal to just the location in total for a moment, if I may. So here's what we established. So we're in Iron Lake, New York, which I believe is technically it's kind of like a fictional patchwork of two locations. It's Iron Lake, New York, but it's also they shot it in Massachusetts in the winter.
Okay.
So that's why it looks very Massachusetts-esque, but it's kind of like it's like a fictional upstate New York town. That's essentially what it's like.
So it kind of bothers me that it wasn't Alaska.
I'm surprised they make it just firmly Massachusetts. That's the thing that really gets me.
But I'm just saying, wasn't that officially where he ended up? Was Alaska?
No. He ended up in, I believe, Oregon.
Oh, Oregon, right? Okay, so that's still like across the country.
I know that's the weird thing. But again, 10 years have passed since then, so he probably migrated.
No, I understand that, but still, it's like I'd like some sort of clarification on like, has he just constantly been on the move or what?
I'm with you. I guess he went the full Bill Bixby for a while. He's kind of kept moving so he thought. I mean, that's my logic, I guess. Also, of course, we kind of mentioned this in the marketing and everything. The fact that he is called Jim Lindsay, which is a really cute nod to the author Jeff Lindsay, who wrote the Dexter books. I thought that was cute.
All right, my headcanon for this is that stupid thing I was joking about them doing like a whole season of the lumberjack drama where serial killing doesn't come into play at all. What if there was like a lot of drama on the lumberjack work crew, and that's why Dexter had to dip?
Possible. Well, a lot happens in 10 years, Tiki. Year one. That's Dexter's rebranded year one.
All right.
So the small town setting, again, the most genius thing about the small town setting, Tiki, is the fact that he can't hide and he can't have secrets, which to me is the biggest intrigue of season 9.
You want to go where everybody knows your name.
Yes. So it's just think about it. It's just so interesting that again, if he takes any lies, people are gonna notice because it's like the population of less than 100, one missing, it's gonna go noticed. So also it's kind of interesting. Dexter's he's not a lumberjack anymore. He's farming, which is interesting. I like that he's in the business of essentially kind of caring for and nurturing life versus he's kind of basically nurturing life that ends in death because that's usually the path of most farm animals. So it's kind of like the delusion of like of the life of a non-killer.
There was a lot of interesting animal symbolism this episode. That, and then of course the albino deer.
Yes.
I really love that symbolism. I love the whole idea of like he's hunting it, but he's not killing it, and it's kind of like keeping his dark passenger at bay a little bit.
Yeah, it's Dexter's purity and his hope that literally gets just kind of shocked.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Sure. So again, I just think it's really interesting. Again, just like all these parallels with the farm life thing, just where it goes, where traditionally crime scene aftermaths and looking for targets. Where of course his day job is probably my favorite thing so far about episode 1, Fred's fishing game.
Yes, absolutely.
This is such a great occupation for him. I just love the idea that
Dexter
he's
surrounded by guns and knives.
Is the fact that Dexter's, he's got to. I think it'd be fair to say Dexter.
And of course,
Morgan.
We have some gloriously cheeky fake outs here. With the butcher and the butcher knife.
Yep, and again, everyone knows this name of this Jeff Lindsay character. So he can't hide. Everyone knows him, and like literally gets like a background check, and everyone at the station knows. Hey, didn't you get that guy the background check?
Yeah, that is, man, and I love the way that this premiere plays with that. It's like it takes a significant chunk of time to really let us know, like, okay, this is a town where it's like secrets are going to get out like immediately.
It just love that we up the stakes.
I just think it's setting the stage for just a really thrilling cat and mouse game. I really do. I think we're in for a treat.
Well, basically, we're setting up Dexter's Dark Knight Returns, and I love the fact that he's a little out of practice, and he's going to have to get back in the game. He's going to have to get even better than he ever was because he can't hide.
Yes, totally.
Such an interesting story challenge. I love it. So Fred's fishing game, the fact that Dexter is a very experienced hunter, and just the fact that Dexter can apply his serial killer traits as this charm and his salesmanship and his knowledge of these instruments of murder so well, it makes him like the star employee. And also, I love his boss. I love Fred Jr.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm really hoping we see more of this guy. I like this is the perfect kind of like loyal, loyal employee boss dynamic that you want.
Thinking one of your favorite things was in this episode from Dexter. Dexter, he's upgraded from donuts. He's bringing like different sorts of pastries, but he's still bringing them.
Of course, yeah.
Yep.
And here's the thing, Dragon. This really did. This is one of the things that impressed me the most with this episode. We get callbacks. We get a lot of callbacks, but none of them are really very member berries-y. They all serve a plot function. It's not just like, hey, remember the donuts? Remember the donuts? You know,
I mean, that's the closest we get to member berries, really. That's the
closest. And it's not. It's very much like a plot function, because it's just him. It's how he assimilates. It's just what he does.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Also, again, I love the fact that Dexter and guns is a new thing. Because Dexter historically, I mean, I'm not saying he never fired a gun, but I'm saying Dexter, like, guns were not his thing at all. So
he's a knife guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Much like the Dark Knight Joker, he's all knives, man. That's his thing. So it's like that Dexter is kind of, while he's in his element, he's also a little bit out of his element. Just to see how it's like priming you for the fact that Dexter is evolved. Again, like he says later on with the slides, he's an evolving serial killer. He's evolving.
Oh.
So should we talk about Deb?
Yeah, I'm kind of chomping at the bits to talk about our fake out bad guy, but
we can talk about it. I just thought you might want to do Deb first, but sure.
Okay. I forget what his name is. I'm sorry.
Matt? Oh yeah, you really were chomping at the bits to talk about him. Yeah. So Matt Caldwell.
Yeah. Dragon, I don't know. This was a perfect storyline. This is like this is the exact type of just like just macho, like wannabe macho douchebag that would bring Dexter out of his shell. The actor just absolutely committed to this role, man. I was so into it.
Dexter going to war with toxic masculinity.
Later.
So yeah, just the temptation, and basically Caldwell is the temptation, the cold snap of the plot here. At play going on here, where it's kind of like destiny presents Dexter with the ultimate kind of like victim and prey on a silver platter. It's like you could not be presented to him like, look at how douchey this guy is. Like the knife gag later on, which we paid off, like ooh, that whole.
That was great.
So we have an entitled rich sociopath jerk walks in there and is just like pretty much begging Dexter to kill him.
Literally, like one of the first things he says is, "Do you know who my father is?"
And we have a chilling, and that's his whole thing, even to the end, like, my father this, my father that, you're gonna regret this.
I like how at first it's a joke, and then at the very end it's like, oh shit. Okay, this is serious.
The fact that essentially Kurt Caldwell, that's the Clancy Brown character, Kurt Caldwell, he is, the fact that Kurt Caldwell is like a guy who pretty much built the town. He's friends with all the business owners and everything. He's a guy
I'm legitimately so excited. I think, God, it's going to be.
And Clancy Brown's going to be folksy, and I can't. So
he's going to be folksy, but you also know he's going to be intimidating as hell too.
So two things. So one, let me tell you. I don't know if So Dexter doesn't just kill Matt Caldwell just because of the thing he does later. We did verify that Matt Caldwell was a nasty customer and that he, out of ego, he was like doing like one of those rich yachting, boating sort of things like rich kids do. And he basically got into like a game of chicken with it's like 5 kids.
You know what Matt Caldwell represents, Dragon?
What does Matt Caldwell represent?
He represents the Firefest generation.
Yes, exactly. I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. He's the Billy McFarlanes of the world.
Totally.
So that's the thing. So basically, I had these. I remember his poor friend, who had like the phallus carved into his face.
Yeah, I thought the friend having the drug freak out was like the one buy of the episode. Like
it was the exposition dump.
Yeah.
Tiki,
I get it. Like I don't mind it. I just thought it was a little convenient.
But let me put it this way, Tiki. It's a lot better than a lot of the versions of that we've had in those latter seasons.
Oh my God, I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying. At least it's a little other, but if anything's a send up to those latter seasons, maybe this is it. They're keeping it minimal. Right. They're keeping it minimal in plot relevance. So I don't mind it. My point is, so this the fact that we hear this kid rammed into that ship and killed those five drunken party goers out of spite, out of ego, because they yelled at him. But and again, he was in the wrong. They're like, hey, stop turning this way, and he just ran full speed ahead because he's a psychopath. So this little this little sicko, you deserve that, man.
Okay,
So
Dragon, I'm curious. Have you? I know you're not a news guy at all, and I'm not usually either. But do you know anything about the Travis Scott Astroworld situation?
nope.
Okay, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but let me just say I would love to see Dexter take down Travis Scott. I think that Travis Scott is someone who would fit Dexter's code in these recent events. That's all I will say. Anyways.
Okay, so here's what we set up. We do tee up, I believe, a big Kurt Caldwell thing this season, really subtly in the background in this episode, okay? So they set up there is a killer in the town. Well, here's the thing. They set up that there's been a bunch of missing. I'm assuming it's the killer in town. 'Cause I'd be really disappointed. Like, oh, they're just missing persons. They're all
I'm
alive.
assuming
Really?
it's human trafficking. That's my theory.
I mean, whatever it is, Tiki. The fact there are 3 missing girls while the rich folks are rolling in the town. I'm assuming Kurt Caldwell, whatever it is responsible for this. Whether he's killing these victims, because they said no bodies and no pattern yet. So I'm assuming it's a killer that's going to see if Dexter's worth his salt, which I'm assuming would be Caldwell, but we'll see. So that's kind of the big thing we kind of teed up in terms of like if there's perhaps towards our big killer plot of the season. There are missing women in town, 3 up to this point. So should we talk about the deer? Oh, Deb. Wait, what about Deb? We should talk about Deb.
Yeah, we should get to Deb. Yeah.
Okay, so Deb. So here's the thing. So the reason we have Deb as the new Dark Passenger is at the very end of season 8, I believe.
I know what happens to Deb at the end of season 8.
So. Well, I know. I'm not talking about Deb.
Okay.
So either the penultimate episode of the finale, I can't recall which. They basically gave him closure with Harry, which is why he didn't have a Dark Passenger at the very end. That's why James Remar is not going to be in this show, most likely, unless they do a flashback. He will not be the Dark Passenger as he tends to be because he got absolved of that stuff. He kind of found peace with his father, but obviously for what happens to Deb, he now has new guilt, and the second strongest connection of his life, would be of course Deborah. So yeah, that's so of course that's why she's kind of presenting herself as she is, as the. And
I love how she is in a lot of ways a polar opposite of Harry.
Yeah.
And the fact that her whole thing is no, we cannot do this. You have to be normal. Whereas Harry, it's all about controlling it. It's all about you can't keep it bottled up.
Which when Deb found out what Dexter was up to, she was kind of that opinion anyway. So it's very on brand that she was trying to dissuade, use the code to dissuade Dexter versus go full tilt into it with control like Harry did. Yeah, so it makes sense. So also, one of the great visuals, Tiki, I would have loved to use this as a visual, but I just couldn't find a good image of it. The nightmare sequences that Dexter has, and the daydreams, where he's clocking people in their heads, and he's doing all that sort of stuff. Of course, the moment.
Yes, the gun clock is just instantly priceless.
But to me, the moment of the episode is when Dexter has that dream, that nightmare, when he's walking out to the ice, because he set out the lure to catch some fish, I guess, in the ice in the lake. And Deb, in the hospital gown from when he basically dumped her body in the finale, comes out of the water, and then the Dark Passenger drags her down. I love that so much. Such a scary, seeing the scary psychology of Dexter at play, very visual.
And also just seeing Deb just in his ear, just constantly, mentally how that's affecting him.
And also taking the bullet out that killed her from.
Oh my God! Yeah. Oh,
so that was the wound that put her in the coma that he then mercy killed her with. So.
So Harry.
And I think you mean Harrison.
Sorry.
Well, T, I think we should talk about the deer then Harrison. Let's save Harrison for the end.
Okay.
Harrison's big. We'll talk about all the Harrison stuff. All right, so the white deer again. So Dexter's purity is hope, literally shot by Matt Caldwell, which leads to the cold snap. But this time, when he clocks him, it ain't a dream.
Yeah. So I don't know. I love that it's. I love that it's the symbolism that knocks him out of it. And also, Dragon, the thing that made me decide to do this as a weekly recap was the whole "it's been a long time."
Yes, the fact that up to this point,
when I heard that, I geeked out so fucking hard, Dragon. Because like literally like a scene or two before that, I was like, oh, they're not doing the voiceover. All right, that's a choice. Okay, I can respect it.
No, they're waiting. Dexter does that voiceover when he's in the mood, and now he's in the mood. When the dark passenger is back on the table, that's when you get the voice. That's when you get the inner monologue, and it's back with that cold snap. And I love how fast we've never seen Dexter. Well, very rarely. In the good seasons, we never saw Dexter this fast and improvised in a kill, and that just they see him snap like this. You know, the fact that he did this, and also so effectively, even though he's been out of practice for a while, like he improvised the kill room very well with what he had.
Yeah, he did, but not well enough.
I know. He's rusty. See how that goes. Little hanging Chad there, but
oh yeah.
So I just seeing Dexter in the kill room and the makeshift kill room.
It's a homecoming, Dragon. It's a total homecoming.
It's an old
right.
It's an old friend, Tiki. It's an old friend.
Absolutely,
Hall.
Absolutely. And you know what else is? I feel like Michael C. Hall. He really goes back to like season 1 Dexter, where he had like a lot of rage in him. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing, I love that, Dexter, we brought back from especially the early seasons. I mean, it was always there in those, especially in those first 4. Not that, look, I don't want to keep bad.
Look, I'm just saying, like, even in the first 4, I think he progressively got a little less intense on the, on the kill tables, just because I feel like it was kind of like more of a battle of wits between the villains. But in season 1, man, especially like that pilot, I don't know. I think the pilot kill room scene might be like one of the most visceral kill room scenes.
Well, remember, they're doing that so you get on his side. So when he does the stuff later, it's like, okay, well, yeah, he was very intense and justified, and that he had a really strong sense of justice. So I'm on his side here. Versus when it just becomes more like the battle of wits later on. Yeah. So I mean, I love that we brought back kind of the classic kill room. Particularly from the early ones, like you're saying, the black humor and the ambiance of just like there's a sense of drama in the room here where Dexter, he ain't happy that this has happened, but he's like facing the inevitability, and again just the black humor of it all here of just like seeing the terror in Matt's face when he's faced with the fact that this is what are you gonna do, kill me? It's not the first time. You think you're gonna get away with kill me? Again, not the first time. So just the fact that you're an effing serial killer, I was a serial killer. Like, who are we effing kidding? I am a serial killer. Just the mirthless humor and the realism. The fact that when Dexter's in the killer, man, and this is kind of what it evolved to in the series as well. But he had this too, even in the angry phases. That the great signature of the Dexter series is that the kill rooms were also kind of therapeutic for him, where he sees, again, it's the procedural element of Dexter, where he would see his issues and kind of and what he's dealing with in the episode paralleled in the killer or the kill. So I love that we're bringing it back to that, and the fact that Matt Caldwell here, in his desperation, he blames us all on bad parenting. As Dexter's having this, you're blaming this all on bad parenting?
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, buddy, you are barking up the wrong tree here now.
Yep, but also does set a wonderful precedent for, I think, the strong thread of this season, which I think would transition us to.
Well, hold on. We got to talk about, I mean, I know we've already kind of built it up a little bit, but that build up for Clancy Brown, man.
Yeah, for the whole, like, in his last moments, he doesn't go quietly. He just goes, like, screaming like an entitled prick. My father will effing destroy you! And everybody
Here's the thing. I love how it's just, like, the scene goes from, like, visceral and hell yeah to just, like, oh, shit. Like, yeah, Clancy Brown is going to be the big bad. And if he's, I don't know. Like, I did get genuinely intimidated for Dexter in that moment, which is exactly what I want to be,
I'm intimidated for Dexter, not because of the build-up, but more because Dexter is underestimating this rich prick. He's underestimating him. And Dexter's rusty. He can't hide, and he's in trouble. And it. I felt more like a sense of dread for Dexter than I did dread for Clancy Brown, but I'm sure the dread will be there when he shows up.
All right.
I'm sure of it. So, speaking of fathers and sons.
Yeah, so Harrison.
Harrison, when Harrison was reintroduced in the episode, I mean, this is the huge moment of the episode. This is the big hang. This is the reason people are up. In my opinion, this is why people were upset at the Dexter finale, because of the fact of so we just left Harrison up in the atmosphere there. We're just not gonna. He's with Hannah. That's where we left it.
Yeah, that's honestly, oddly enough, one of the problems I have with the Squid Game finale, but that's a different story.
That was a different story, Tiki. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying with Squid Game, it's like we start the show, it's like, oh, his daughter's like the big motivation, and then his daughter barely even gets mentioned in the last episode. But anyways,
the point being, the biggest hanging chat of the series, or people had an opinion about they wanted to be reunited with the son, or they wanted more closure there. So the fact that we have the big heartbreaking scene of Dexter turning his son away to protect him, which, guts your heart, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and especially because it's countered with all the Deb stuff, of Deb literally just like
pulling out the bullet that killed her.
Dokes. It's like she's just putting it, she is not pulling any punches with that, To
be fair, though, I'm not shedding a tear over Dokes. I think Dokes kind of had it coming.
You and me will always disagree on Dokes. I love Dokes.
No, I'm not saying Dokes wasn't
was
fun.
a lot of fun.
Well, no, I'm not saying like he was a bad character. I'm just saying I'm saying I think that character deserved his fate, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. Surprise motherfucker is one of the all-time iconic catchphrases.
I really like that guy kind of played like the non-family friendly Mr. T, in my opinion.
right.
That's the best way I could equivocate Dokes. He was just kind of like the Miami. Well, Mr. T was stuck in Miami. He just got sick and tired of it. He's like, forget the inspiration, the kids part. I'm just gonna.
Totally.
Forget the cereal. F this. I hate this heat.
All right.
Anyway, seriously, getting back on points. But yeah, so Deborah, I love that Deb brought up the fact that everyone Dexter loves dies. Which, think about it. This was in season 5, because I don't know how well you recall it. You watched through season 5, so I guess you do.
I watched like the first 4 episodes of season 5.
Okay, well, regardless, however much you remember of season 5. Rita's kids were sent away to the grandparents. So by definition, this is an absolutely true statement that, everyone Dexter loved died. Yeah, all the true blue loved ones have died being around him. And again, to me, this is the MVP idea of this whole revival is, okay, we're justifying the re-exploration of how Dexter ends, kind of Logan style, again, very much kind of an old man Morgan, if you will, old man Dexter Morgan, in that, can Dexter find redemption through his son? Kind of like how can Logan find redemption through Laura and all that sort of stuff.
I love how it's like it should have been obvious, right? The whole thing where it's like now Dexter is going to be the Harry to Harrison.
Yes,
it should have been obvious, and I feel stupid for not calling it as soon as Harrison was announced to be on the show. But it works so well, and I love how it's like the episode like builds up, and it's like it kind of like smacks you in the face at the end. It's like, oh, of course that's what they're doing.
But still, though, I gotta tell you, Tiki, I think the scene was so personal and so involved, you kind of were distracted from that, though, where you were just kind of thinking, oh man, Dexter making the smart call here. Yeah, he would chase his son away. What if we were going to be just that horrible and glib of like, yeah, I have to cut my son out of my life. We're just going to do that. Like we gave people Harrison, we took him away. You kind of buy it for a moment.
I didn't buy it.
Just not even for a moment. I'm just saying
you don't just throw away story potential like that.
I'm just saying, here's the thing. You knew he was coming back, but just for a moment, you didn't feel it just for a moment. Then you suspect, okay, well, we still have time in the episode, so he's got to come back.
Right,
Get sucked into it and kind of took it at face value. Like, what if they just wrote him out like that? Imagine how much of a middle finger that would be, but still a gutsy middle finger.
But no, seriously, did you feel that same sort of level of like, oh, he's gonna teach him the code?
So here's where I'm at on Harrison here, and just this plot point here. So I love that the risk. Let me rephrase it. Okay, so I love the risk of this season. Okay, so Dexter, kind of like Barry almost. Dexter is making the unsafe choice for a killer. for a killer. Out of love and family, he will welcome his son. He will bring his son back into his life. Like mistake numero uno. You cut the ties. Basically, he's breaking. It's kind of like, what if you did the gene plot of Better Call Saul, but all of it up front at once? Okay, like what if he's in hiding. He got away with killing people for 8+ years, and again, it's been going pretty well, but he's gotten a little tired.
It's funny that you mention it. I never really thought about it, but yeah, this is pretty much like the Gene Show.
That's what I'm saying. It's the Gene Show, only it's entirely all up front. We're okay. He's gotten sick and tired of it. And he's making the unsafe choice, and we're going to see how it treats him. And I think it tees up. I think the big Harrison question of the season that we're going to see, Tiki, is okay. One of two things I see happening with the Harrison story. A, Harrison dies, and this leads to Dexter turning into like an unsalvageable monster. Like he'll be that'll be the last human connection he has. And again, like Dexter's managing an addiction with his serial killing. If anything, Dexter could just be taken over by his monster completely if Harrison goes and it's his fault. And B, I think the thing that's on track what you're saying, Tegan, and this is the thing that kind of wonderfully pays off what season 4 was. Trinity's prophecy gets fulfilled. Dexter's trauma gets passed on to the new blood in the baptism of blood with the bath, and the Harrison's trauma. And it's a question of like, can Dexter help Harrison through the trauma that he incurred as a youth? That maybe again, like we saw how it affected Dexter. Harrison's going to be remembering it at some point, and also big thing this season. He's going to be dealing. Every conversation Dexter always wanted to avoid will be happening this season. He's going to have to explain to his son that he's a killer. And that will lead to the big fork in the road thing. Like, again, will he be the new blood, and will he be training the next generation of serial killer, supplanting himself, being the Harry to his son, which is a fascinating idea. And you're right, Tiki. It does just kind of click in that moment. Oh, he's going to be Harry.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, I also, I wonder if we're going to see Hannah at all this season, because, I mean, we did.
Yeah, Hannah is literally, for me, she's literally just a name that I have heard. I have no emotional attachment at all.
I mean, here's the thing. Hannah, it's going to be interesting because Hannah was a big deal, but again, a big deal that Clyde Phillips had no involvement in. So, I don't know if he's going to be inclined to work that in to his kind of, his telling of what the final season should have been. I don't know.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't really. I wouldn't mind an explanation for what happened between Harrison and Hannah, just because I know that's the last spot we saw Harrison was with her. But I mean, beyond that, I certainly don't want her showing up again.
I mean, there are questions of like, why would he leave Hannah to seek out Dexter, and how would he essentially know that Dexter's around?
It's like, I don't mind if that question gets answered, because that is a genuine question.
We definitely got to answer that.
I just don't want that answer to take like half a season to explore. You know what I mean?
I mean, look, I would like to see her back, but not extensively. I don't want her like in the town necessarily. If she was in one episode, I'd be okay with that, or
or like in a flashback or something.
That's what I'm saying. I want to see her again, but not extensively. Sure.
I think we can both agree on that. But no, I mean, just kind of wrapping into my final thoughts, with that ending, I really think that ending kind of proves that my approach to Dexter, which is, the original season ends on that bathroom floor, kids. That's it. Credits roll.
And we're paying it off.
I mean, I think that's pretty much like, I mean, we'll see as the season goes on, but I think that's a pretty legit approach that I've taken.
And Tiki, you're right in that the Trinity season is essentially a son becomes the father story. And also, I mean, you had parallels to Trinity being the father figure, the anti-Harry, like the father figure who was encouraging the serial killing, only no, give in to your monster, don't control it, just you can't avoid it. Just again, they had the parallels going there. So again, the fact that we're doing kind of a grown-up father-son season, in terms of like, okay, like what do you do when your son grows up and you're a serial killer? This is the thing you never thought was possible.
All right. So yeah, I think that's about it. Any final thoughts on your end before we get out of here, Dragon?
Again, I'm just I'm loving our start to what seems to be a really strong season. At the very least, I think possibly the most important season of Dexter since season 4. At the very least.
Indeed. All right, folks. I don't exactly know if we're gonna have like a a usual day or time that we do these things. Honestly, it was a little bit of a last minute call to even do these as weekly recaps. So hopefully as the week goes on, we'll have a more concrete time to do these, and I'll try and get them live too. I know at least that guy said that he'd be interested in coming on the comments forum. So, but yeah, thanks for listening to this, y'all, and have a good night.
Beware the Caldwell.